the name of the greatest people that have ever trod this earth, I draw the line in the dust and toss the gauntlet before the feet of tyranny, and I say segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever.
On this day in 1972, presidential candidate George Wallace survived an assassination attempt. The controversial governor was in Maryland campaigning for the upcoming election when 21-year-old Arthur Bremer shot him multiple times. His opponent for the Democratic nomination, Shirley Chisholm, famously visited him in the hospital the next day. She was also the first black woman to be elected to Congress. Wallace survived but was left paralyzed from the waist down for the rest of his life. His campaign for president ended, but he would continue serving as governor of Alabama throughout the 1970s and 80s. Bremer served 35 years in prison and was released in 2007.
I want to ask you a few questions about Birmingham now. In 1963, when you were inaugurated, you've heard the famous segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever.
Yes.
Now, let me just ask a question. Was that seemed to be at the time defiance of federal law? Is that what you intended?
What was that now?
That seemed to be a statement that was made to defy federal law, and I want to know if that was what you intended by saying that.
Well, at that time, really, I shouldn't have made it as that statement as that, frankly, because I knew myself that it was not going to last forever, and it shouldn't last forever. But I knew what happened at Ole Miss. I knew what happened in Clifton, Tennessee, when the integrated school was there, and also in Arkansas. And I was determined nothing like that happened in Alabama. So at the University of Alabama, we had nothing but peace and quiet. We stopped all these Minutemen and states' writers, so-called, I mean, the Thunderbolt folks and the Ku Klux Klan. None of them could get there. We arrested a bunch of those kind of folks from California between Bessemer and Birmingham and put them in jail. And I got on television, and I said twice on statewide television, anybody who harms the hair on another man's head is not on the side of our fight for constitutional government. You stay away from the University of Alabama. Nobody going to be there but those souls to be there. There was never one bit of ugliness shown to those students. We were going to integrate it next year anyway. But I was there, but I kept peace, and I did not see the university torn up like it was in some other parts of the country that did not anticipate all these haters coming from all over the nation to stir up trouble. And I'm so very proud of that.
When you stood in the schoolhouse door, it seemed less an act of resistance and more a symbolic gesture.
It was an act of legal resistance. It's not a physical resistance at all. One reason I had the National Guard there, if we did have an occasion like Mississippi, was not going to stand for it. But the good people of Mississippi did not anticipate all these folks from all over the country, all these hate groups, the Nazi Party, etc., coming to that city and almost destroying that great university. And it was not going to happen at our university. In fact, the Board of Trustees, which had one man who belonged to a cabinet of the President of the United States, urged me to come and stand there. Because when I went on television, even the Ku Klux Klan leader got up and said, Governor Wallace says, stay away. He's going to raise a constitutional question for all the people of Alabama. So you see, I violated no law. My resistance was legal, not violence. I do not believe in violence. It will not solve any problem.
You said that day that you were standing there because you refused to submit to the usurpation of federal government takeover, federal intervention.
That's correct. I thought that I would have another case in court and we could determine that we would decide the guidelines when we would integrate, in what fashion, and when. We wanted to set the timetable, and we were very upset at the federal government trying to set the timetable when we were going to integrate the next year. They said, no, you're going to integrate this year. We're going to try to show them that the state had some supremacy in some rights under the Constitution of the United States in the 10th Amendment.
Let me ask you this question. If you could explain for me, and for all people who don't have any idea what this is about, the states' rights versus federal intervention. Give me a really good explanation of what
All
states'
you
rights.
got to do is read the Constitution of the nation, which says that the 10th Amendment says that all powers not especially delegated to the federal government are left to the states or the people respectively of the states. That's in substance what it says. Now, I do not mean to say that that meant we could have discrimination in the public school system. In fact, white Southerners did not believe it was discrimination. They thought it was in the best interest of both races. You cannot indict the whole southern part of our nation as being haters. They are not. We've had easier transition toward segregation in the South, in Alabama, than we've had in the other parts of the country, and you know that to be a fact.
So the Southern view of states' rights was that this was a decision that the state should be allowed to make. Is that correct?
Well, they had a right to determine the qualifications of attendance of schools, but and that had been so declared in a prior Supreme Court decision. But in the long run, that decision was wrong because integration must come. Segregation could not last, and it shouldn't have lasted.